Hey fans, welcome back to the Fireside Chat with Peter Snell. I'm here with my good buddy Jonathan Bates, and we are going to talk about his world today, his story. I'm super stoked. He's got a really interesting background in a lot of different ways. Man, let's get right to it. How's it going, man? How you doing?
Peter, so good to be here. Thanks, man. Any chance I get to spend time with you, I'm all over it.
I love you too, man. I love you too. It's good. Hey, so one of the things that we do for the audience is a quick reminder, sort of our structure. It's really the conversations with people that most people wouldn't know, but should know because they're doing great things, and they may not go viral, but they're having great impact on people and in the world. And you're definitely one of those people. So we cover really three simple things and let the conversation sort of organically go where it needs to. But that's in the construct of your story, personal and professional. We'll go all the way back to your childhood if you're comfortable back there, whatever you want to talk about. Look for some inflection points, some things that kind of shaped you as a person. And then we'll talk about one big thing you're working on. And then the last thing, we'll talk about the markets, what's going on, your lens of things, and particularly as it relates to your business and what's going on there. And we'll probably have a little bit of tie into the energy space, maybe some oil and gas, obviously. And this, by the way, is powered by Petrovibe. So oil and gas development company in South Texas. I'm CEO there. So we're glad to be a part of this story here. But man, talk to us about your story specifically. If you could think back to your childhood, and maybe give us a run up if you can, but talk to us about what life was like, little Jonathan Bates, what was going on back then, and then sort of where that took you. I know we've got a military career story, a rather decorated one, if you ask me. I know you're probably too humble to talk about it that way, but be interesting to kind of hear some of your key inflection points. What made you? Start back in your childhood a little bit. What was that like?
Man, I think I had a fantastic childhood. I mean, my wife wouldn't agree, but
Was she there?
No,
Oh,
she wasn't
okay.
there. She wasn't there.
Okay.
Just hearing about it, because I do believe that in an effort to make our children's lives better than ours, that we try to pack as many cool things in for them as possible. And nowadays, when my kids aren't doing whatever activity I had planned for them, they're being distracted every 15 seconds by their phone. And that wasn't how we were raised. You know what I mean? Like, remember the days back before internet, before phone,
Yeah.
before cell phones. Crazy. But,
Ported TV remotes and drinking out of the garden hose and playing football till dark, right?
that's what I'm talking about. My dad's remote was this. Go change the channel.
I had one of those too.
Yeah, but no, I had a great childhood. I grew up in Washington State in the southeast side in Tri-Cities, a nice little desert town. But it was a little bit different from from the way my kids were raised. My dad had like 3 jobs for a long time. We moved around pretty frequently. Sometimes I would be angry and I would get kicked out. I think, like I said, these things that I really enjoyed. It always feels like a big deal when you're a kid, but it really, if you're talking about inflection points, things that really did shape me. Spending the night in winter nights in a newspaper recycle bin. I don't know if they don't even have those anymore.
Right.
Or a train car or something like that. Just from being a rude, mean, angry kid and getting kicked out or whatever thing. I was super fun. I got expelled from every even year of school up until my 10th grade year, when somebody came in the Rotary Club came into my math class, and they're like, who would like to be an exchange student? And my best friend and I raised our hands as jokes, because obviously we weren't going anywhere. And I got accepted to go be an exchange student in Australia.
Wow.
Yeah. And my dad was like, hey, man, if you get kicked out of 10th grade, you're not going. And I just wanted out of whatever situation we were in. And so I straightened out to Australia, wrote 2 letters the whole time I was there. No phone calls, nothing. I made it, and picked me up at the airport. Those are the 2 letters. Like I said, there's no internet back then. Phone calls were expensive. And I stayed for 13 months. In fact, I loved it so much that the immigration guy from Australia came into the butcher shop that I was working at and paying taxes. And I tried to just disappear into society. And he was like, is there Jonathan Bates here? And I'm like, yeah, that's me. And he's like, your visa's up. You got to get out of my country.
Wow.
Yeah. And because I just loved, being independent and having that life. Australia's a beautiful country. In fact, I was so blessed, talking about inflection points. When I turned 16, I was able to go diving on the Great Barrier Reef there.
Wow. Really? What was that like?
It's just, imagine, a rainbow that is just moving all around you constantly. I mean, it's just warm, so clear, super colorful, and yet dangerous.
Yeah.
There's a lot of cool sharks in Australia, lots of good experiences there, but that experience changed my life. I was like, man, you know what? Maybe being a diver for a living would be fun. So that obviously, led into the Navy, where I get home back in this small town, working at a gas station, having a good time. I actually loved that job. I don't know. This is back when Clerks first came out.
The movie?
Just kind of modeled my gas station experience off of that. If anybody hasn't seen that, like if somebody whined about the pump, like something, I'd be like, "You can't pump here anymore," kicking them out of our gas station. It was super fun. But my best friend again was like, "Hey, I'm gonna go take the ASVAB test for the military," and I was like, "Well, that sounds stupid." And he's like, "No, they're gonna pay for our hotel room and free food." And I was like, "Well, I want to go."
I like food.
Yeah. So I took the ASVAB test and I scored high enough to get whatever job I wanted. I think it was like a 98 or whatever. I don't know. But they're like, "Hey man, do you want to be a nuke? Do you want to be a blah blah?" I'm like, "No, I want to be a diver." And they're like, "Nah, you don't want to do that." I'm like, "No, that's what I want." So I signed a dive fare contract and was able to go ahead and get into the military and become an explosive ordnance disposal diver, which is the bomb squad. So anything underwater, underwater mines and limpet mines, and on land, chemical, nuclear, biological, hostage bombs, IEDs, all that sort of thing. That was my.
So I'm sorry, that's amazing. Now, we were talking about movies earlier. There was a movie with Cuba Gooding Jr. and was it Robert De Niro? Really, it was really a good movie. The name is escaping me, but I don't know. Was that? I mean, that's in the Wayback Machine, probably. Obviously, but kind of. I don't know. I guess it's too far back in the past to really. But I mean, there's been a
No. They were Navy divers. I mean, it was an older, historical movie anyway.
Probably pretty cool for you to watch, I would say. I mean, I don't know. People ask me if I like Landman, and I'm like, yeah, there's things I think are interesting. My wife makes sure we're watching it because she wants to learn about the business. I'm like, well, there's about 10% that could be useful, actually. So anyway, sorry.
Yeah, no. That's I enjoyed Landman. I asked you about it too. I'm like, "Hey man, how do you like Landman?"
Everyone does. It's like asking a doctor, do you watch ER? Well,
Yeah.
I mean, but anyway, so
Yeah.
Sorry, so I did that to you, but going back to your diving experience, very cool. So you dealt in ordnance. Go back to that part and kind of carry on the story from there because that was very interesting before I interrupted.
No. That's great. Well, we're just talking about inflection points and things that lead to each other. Like, what's the genealogy of decisions that create the people that we are? I love that stuff. And so, turns out though, being paid to be a diver in the military is not as much fun as diving on the Great Barrier Reef. So I just wanted to clarify that for everybody. It's not the same thing. I've had to dive in some horrible stuff, doing some horrible things that I wouldn't recommend, but it did, it was a great experience. And then, I joined the military, did 26 years, started out as an enlisted guy, had an amazingly blessed career. I wouldn't recommend anybody do it the way I did, but I made rank real fast, started, became, E7 and in 7 years, and then E8 within 12 years. And then at 17 years, they were like, "We're going to make you an officer, Gump." And so the Navy has a super cool program called Limited Duty Officer.
Okay.
You don't have to have a degree or anything. They just make you an officer. So somebody got out their magic wand, and the next day I was an officer. And so, it was just a fantastic career. Couldn't be more blessed. Was able to support every major conflict for the last 25 years. And just, like I said, great experience.
Any stories inside of there? It's people are always fascinated by military stories. I don't know if that's a fair ask, but is there any story that would stand out that would be kind of interesting to folks about a challenge you overcame or something that really had you think differently about life? You probably have several dozen of those, but maybe there's one that is worth sharing potentially. You can say no.
Yeah. No. There's lots of things, just, like the first time I got hit by a shark in the Navy.
Oh, that's not normal. That's cool. Let's hear about the first time you got hit by a shark.
So we're doing some silly stuff off the coast of Iran. And part of the deal, we only had like 45 minutes to dive because there was 6-knot tides and there was a 45-minute window of slack tide. So it was really only 15 minutes. But for 45 minutes, the current wasn't too strong to not swim in. At 1 knot, it's really like you just can't swim, and you're just going to get dragged along the bottom or whatever you're doing.
Wow,
And
really?
so
Okay.
yeah, and so we had just a super small window to work in, and in order to go down and do what we needed to do, in this case, we were looking for some stuff that needed to be cleaned up on the bottom. It shouldn't have been there, and so we had to break up into teams. It was in about 300 feet of water, and so I'm breathing, rebreather with helium and oxygen, heliox mixture, so that we could stay down there and come back up in a quick manner. So if you went
pretty deep, right? I mean, this is
300 feet doesn't sound very deep.
Oh no, it sounds deep to me. I'm not going there.
Yeah, just imagine being a football field underwater.
Oh my gosh.
And so we get down there, and if you stay 1 minute longer than you're supposed to, it turns into 2.5 hour dive because of the decompression tables. So you have a very small amount of time to do what you need to do, and then you would come up, and the next person would go down exactly where you were to finish the next step, and we do that. So I get in the water, go down 300 feet. In order to look at things, back in the day, we had this handheld sonar that you had on your head. You had some earphones, and you had a little sonar gun.
Yeah.
It would make this little noise. It would go until you hit a hollow metal object, and it would go pew pew. And so you would guide yourself, like you would search the 360-degree search until you heard something, and you can't see anything.
Right.
So swimming towards this thing, going pew 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 pew, and you're trying to keep it till you hit it, but you're not supposed to touch it when you get down there, because some of those things are hunting for you.
Oh my gosh, that is freaky. I'm scared, and I'm sitting here listening to the story that happened years ago.
Yeah. So imagine it's super dark, it's super cold, and you're freezing, and you're listening to this thing, and you're just kind of swimming, and you can't see anything. Well, it turns out that sound is not super common underwater in this region of the world or anywhere. And so guess what it attracts? Sharks. And so I'm like, choo, 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 pew, 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 pew. I get there, and I just kind of run into this thing because I can't see anything. And I'm like, oh man. And it's all torn to shreds because it came from the air, and it just exploded. And so I'm trying not to cut myself open on these jagged pieces of metal. And I'm trying to not lose this sonar thing. I'm trying to gather all the things together that I need to blow up. And I see this fish swim across in front of me. It's like 3 feet long. You can't even see like how. And I was like, man, is that a remora? Like, that's the biggest remora I've ever. That's so weird. They must grow big here. Because the little fish that like suck on the side of sharks.
Oh yeah.
And so I'm like,
a 3-footer on the little. Oh my gosh.
yeah, I was like,
See where this is
so
going.
weird, so odd. And I'm like doing my work, and I see this school bus go in front of me, and I was like, that's why it's so big. There's a giant shark, and I'm like, yeah. So just imagine this like dark shadow, just like,
gosh, dude, that is freaking me out.
So now I'm like, dude, like, I really need to finish my job. So
yeah.
Part of my job is I have this super tiny peanut buoy with 500 feet of line on it wrapped around it that I have to tie to it, this thing, and then I'm going to unwind it all the way to the surface so the next person can come down and put explosives on what we're doing. So I'm tied it on, and all of a sudden something smashes me into this object that I'm working on. I mean, just knocked my breath out of me. I think I just died. I think I got bit.
Oh my gosh.
I'm like stabbed by the jagged pieces of metal, and like went through my wetsuit. I'm like, I have a knife in my hand now. And I'm like, I mean, there's nothing I can do against anything that big.
Right.
I can't see it coming. You know what I mean? I can't do it. But now I'm also at the end of my time. And at 300 feet, you can't just bolt to the surface.
Oh, no.
Because you'll get the either an arterial gas embolem, AGE, or some sort of decompression sickness, because I went over my time underwater.
Oh my
Whatever.
God.
Like, those are my two options: decompression sickness, run out of air, be eaten by a shark, or go to the surface, and I can either go quickly and risk having my lungs explode or whatever, or getting an embolism, or I can just do what I need to do and make sure that it happens. Because if I can't just release this buoy. If it locks up anywhere, we have to start over if it's not at the surface. Other people's lives at risk now too. And so I'm like, oh man, what do I do? Well, you can only take action. Like, you're gonna die if you sit there. Nothing else is working. I can't just freak out just because some shark hit me. And he hasn't come back in like 2 minutes. So quickly, I finished my job. I have my knife in my hand and I'm unwinding this little peanut buoy, trying to look 360 degrees around for this shark in the water that I can't see, all the way to the surface. And I get to the surface, give my signal. They pull me out of the water. The next guy goes in, and I'm like, they pulled my rig off, and they're like, dude, what happened? They like cracked the back of my rig. I'm like, bro,
My God.
pretty sure I got hit by a huge shark. And he was like, what? Next dude that just went down just explodes out of the water.
I mean, we're laughing right now comfortably in our podcast seats here, but oh my,
Yeah. But the point of the thing that helped reflect is that, even when you're scared, you have to take action.
yeah, I mean,
And you can't just take radical, like unsafe action. You really need to gather your thoughts and push through, mitigate as much risk as possible, but continue with your plan. If you've mitigated everything you can and you have confidence that the next step is the right step, then just you need to take it.
yeah, it's I mean, to have that kind of test, I don't even know what to do with that. I mean, obviously that's just it's a super unique situation, but it's certainly a far cry from reef diving in Australia. So
Yeah, wasn't the same thing. I'm like,
yeah,
this
not at all.
not what I thought when I was 16.
Oh my gosh, man. Well, thanks for sharing that. That is an amazing story. I mean, I'm as you're talking about it, I'm picturing it like this has got to be. We can put this in a movie or something. I mean, this is a Hollywood. This has got to be some major 7-minute scene, 10-minute scene inside some war movie where they're. I mean, you got the whole story there. I mean, literally, I have it all pictured in my mind, and I'm sure everybody who's watching and listening does too. What an amazing, terrifying experience. I think the guy at the end that was already in there coming out quickly right after you was almost the gold nugget surprise there too.
He was like, why didn't you say anything? I'm like, you got in the water before I could say anything. Like,
Yeah.
and I didn't want to sound like a wimp.
Yeah, I got busted up by the shark. I mean, I'm good. Oh my gosh, man. Well, thanks for sharing that story. So you continued on in the military. Tell us about how where'd the family fit into this picture as you were journeying along?
Man, I'm so grateful for my wife and the good job that she did raising my kids. In fact, my second son is getting married tomorrow, and I'm so excited to have a new daughter-in-law and hopefully some new grandkids shortly. But yeah, the family, it was tough. I mean, we had 14 years straight where I was never home for more than 2 weeks in a row. That doesn't include 9-month deployments or 13-month deployments or 6-month deployments. That's just traveling, working up, average 280 days on the road. And yeah, no, I'm 3 days after I got married, left for 13 months. Just like I said, I'm so blessed that my wife did such a good job and made such amazing kids almost entirely without me. In fact, one time she was in Spain and she's like, why do I live here with 3 kids and 3 dogs in a foreign country all by myself? I'm like, you wanted to go to Spain. Like I could have done this anywhere, but this is what you wanted.
My gosh, man.
So yeah, no, definitely the family was the most challenging piece. And that's one of the things that affects what I do today is the families just do not like, they might, like the wife might, or the husband or whoever might decide that they want to marry a military person, but the kids didn't ask
Right.
for that sort of thing. And I might have volunteered to make the ultimate sacrifice, but they didn't volunteer for that. And so really you got to be really grateful for the sacrifices that families make. And I know I just wasn't there. It's definitely something that, I'm trying to make up for lack of better terms today. I mean, it's just not, it's really hard on families. Some people are better than me at it. In fact, probably 99% of them, but the fact that my family is as amazing as it is 100% because my wife did such a good job, supporting the kids and keeping things together for them.
I mean, it made me think of I used to watch that show, The Unit, on CBS years ago, and one of the interesting dynamics on the show, they consult with real military veterans about how things are. Obviously, they do the shows for entertainment, but there's a lot of consultation of how life really is. And one of the things that I didn't really sign up for on the show, but you get sucked into and really drawn into is the family dynamics, and you really see. It's just a glimpse and it's entertainment, but still you get to see the real. that's the closest I've ever, actually seen it, is through a TV show. But it always amazed me at the impact and how I just think that's often such a forgotten part of the sacrifice in the military and how hard that is. I mean, you think about all the challenges. I have a friend who runs a nonprofit that's called Reboot Recovery. I probably should have him on the show. His name's Evan. He's a terrific guy. And you'd love him because you guys would share a lot of, I mean, he just has a real heart for veterans who come back and are trying to find a way. It's one of those programs that basically helps the veterans work through the challenges of coming back and living, quote unquote, a normal life. And it's faith-based. It's definitely sourced from scripture and who Jesus is. And it's a really interesting program, but I digress. That gives me a great idea though. So I appreciate you bringing that up.
I'd love to meet him and hear it.
Yeah, seriously, dude, you guys need to, there's something there. I don't know what, but I'm going to make that happen. Evan, and I haven't talked to Evan in a little while. So
good reason.
Great place. Yeah, I got you hooked up there. So tell us a little bit about what's going on with your company, what you're doing right now. Like what's the story behind how it started and the mission, and then what are you guys working on?
Yeah, appreciate that. So yeah, if you want to look at the chain of events, the dominoes.
Yeah, what's the story there? Like something got you. I mean, I know a little bit about it, but they don't. And
yeah.
I mean, I think that story needs some light. So.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Thank you for the opportunity. So basically, growing up in the explosive ordnance disposal special operations field, there's small teams. We have units that support us, and something that was ingrained in me growing up, for lack of a better term, is a culture of we think about you so you can think about others. Meaning, I can't have a kid trying to disarm a bomb downrange worried about his family getting hit by a hurricane. He needs to know that we and the command are proactively doing everything we can for him. We're thinking about him. Right. That means that we sent somebody to his house to board it up and take his family to safety, so that he doesn't have that particular worry, that he can come and be fully present and engaged right here in the present. And so that's the culture that was beat into me that I appreciate. That's what I've taken from my experience in the military. And then leading up to just before I got out, the last 3 years I was in, my job was to take care of 3,500 kids a year, going from boot camp to dive school to EOD school, explosive ordnance disposal school, to be in the bomb squad for all the forces in the world. And these kids that, there's thousands of kids that come through, and my job is to help make bomb squad kids. And the kids that wanted to be like me, the Navy guys, only 9 out of every 100 kids were making it. And we screen super heavy for smarts and physical fitness, so they're not getting hurt and they're not failing tests. It's a hard school. It's long. It turns out that the kids were quitting. And I was like, man, why are these kids quitting? And so my theory that I developed after seeing years of this happen is that the difference between this kid who quit and Peter who crushed it is that at some point in your life, Peter, my theory is that somebody said, hey, Peter, I love you. I got your back. I have 100% faith in you. Go out and crush it. I'm here for you. I love you. And somebody poured into you. That's my theory. And for me, it was my grandma. It doesn't have to be your parents, or could be a coach, could be a teacher.
So this pouring into them they came into the program with it.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah. Unless somebody in the program started pouring into them. You know what I mean? That's hard to find for us military.
I was going to say, it's not really engineered for that, is it?
We like crushing people's souls at that point in time. But that's something that I tried to push us away from. But but it's just part of our nature. Like, that's how we were brought up, and that's how we should make everybody else go through it. So we needed to have that opportunity to have the kids poured into before that. And so my job, like I said, was to make this happen. And I'm a parent, and I want my kids not to be quitters. And so my purpose in life became to help instill grit in today's youth. And grit means 2 things to me. Number one is the ability to pick yourself up, the resilience, pick yourself up when you get knocked down, and the tenacity to go towards that light at the end of the tunnel when things are dark. That's all it means. I try to keep it simple. And so
say that again. Grit. I want that to be remembered. I mean, the shark story, the bus-sized shark, is certainly going to be memorable, but that ran into you and nearly killed you. But the grit is two things.
Yeah, the resilience to pick yourself up when you get knocked down, and the tenacity to keep going towards that light at the end of the tunnel when things are tough. And you have that. And so I don't know. Am I wrong? Did somebody not pour into you?
Yeah, I mean, I did. I mean, I had a lot of people that, if you reflect back,
Yeah.
my grandfather, my dad, my mom. I mean, my parents were terrific growing up. Heck, my sister, once we kind of got past, our early youth, we had a really tight relationship. I think about my friends, my coaches, man. I mean, I had so many coaches, and I can remember them all by name. And you kind of march that on through. And then even after
Yeah.
that, I wasn't even that coachable. So it's kind of amazing. I mean, that's a great point. I mean, I've had so much, and then the most important, I wear this on my sleeve, that, but my Savior and Lord Jesus, I mean, he pours into me daily. I've got the gift
Yeah.
of the Holy Spirit. I mean, I'm still being poured into. My wife pours into me. I mean, it's really amazing, because that is such a difference maker. And honestly, I'm having a blow up moment here, because I just haven't really contemplated that in a long time. I have reflected on that before, even on another podcast interview, but we actually talked quite a bit about my grandfather and my dad and the influence they had on me. But yeah, I mean, man, how do you recognize that? I mean, given your story, and you think you see in all this observation, I mean, you got to say it would be at the very least uncommon that you would be able to come to this conclusion and then have a mission that's sort of wrapped around or fueled by that, right? I mean, isn't that doesn't line up. It's incongruent. I mean, you're kind of an anomaly. Maybe that's why I love you.
I am a little crazy. Like even for bomb guys, I was on the edge. But
Nicest crazy guy I know, but yes, you are a little crazy. But maybe
Yeah.
that's why, because I got a screw loose too.
Yeah,
So.
you do. That's one of the things I
Not that screw, but I mean,
yeah, no, so
born into the kids.
yeah.
You
So
saw that was the difference.
I think that's the difference. Yeah, I'm just trying to I think you asked that question, like how did I get to that stage? Well, a couple of years before that, I was working directly for the general in charge of SOCOR, the special operations for the peninsula of Korea. And my job was to get the South Koreans ready to go over the line to do some chemical biological stuff. And then I was going to go do what I was supposed to do. And at that point in time, this is when Obama was president. I don't know if you remember, but South Korea or North Korea was always trying to piss off President Obama. And so every day we'd go into this meeting, and it was like a doomsday meeting. They're like, this happened, that happened. Be prepared. Tomorrow might be the day. Like we didn't talk about that stuff on the news, but that's what we're ready for. I mean, that's our life. So this is a February in Seoul, South Korea. If you haven't been to Seoul, it's an amazing city. But in February, it's a little cold. And it's already dark by 3:00. I get out. It's sleeting sideways. And like this whole half of my body just gets instantly covered in ice. And I'm like, man, I don't like, what am I facing? Like, I gotta be like, I'm just thinking about the meeting I just walked out of. I gotta be ready. And this monster comes up with behind me and just slaps me on the back. And he's like, let's go to the bar. And I don't drink.
Right.
And when he does that, like the ice cracks and flings off my face and it stings. And I'm like, I don't know if I want to be like this for the rest of my life. Like, I don't know if I can think about doing this every day for the rest of my life. And this one point in time, I was like, I really need, like, I love this person. Like, I don't want to go to war with anybody else.
Right.
But in the special operations community, you're either thinking about the next op or there's something wrong with you. And I wanted to think about some other things, this is like I said before, I had, the time with the kids trying to become bomb squad kids. And so I'm like, this moment is the moment that changed my life, where I was like, hey, I need to be around other people. And so it took me like 3 weeks to get this guy, Aaron Walker, on the phone for his mastermind called Iron Sharpens Iron that I heard a podcast about from Korea. And I was like, hey man, I got nothing to offer you. Nothing. But can I pay to hang out with you guys? Because I need to be around other people that have different points of views. I don't want to think about putting bullets in foreheads all day or whatever we're going to do. And he's like, sure, I guess I'll let you pay to hang out with me. And so, I was in that mastermind for a long time. I probably didn't even say a word for a year because I just wasn't worthy, you know what I mean, of the people that were creating value and spending time with their families and whatever they were doing.
Right.
And so that was like the moment that helped me be around other people that thought a different way. And actually, we wouldn't be sitting here if none of those things, if I hadn't gotten picked up for, to be an exchange student in Australia, we wouldn't be sitting here together.
Sure.
But every one of those dominoes led to, like you said, what's that? Like, what makes you to be able to see that that's the thing? And it was being around people like you that have other like thoughts of value and worth and causality. Like, it just wasn't my world before. And I needed to be around people that had a different point of view, a different reality, to be able to bang me enough, like punch me in the head enough to where I could see something like that and make that realization about those kids. And that like I said, that's just my theory. So
Good theory. So you found new purpose with the kids and being around them, observing them, helping them, moving that forward. How did that, what was the springboard into, or how did you springboard into the work that you're doing today from that?
Yeah, appreciate that. It started before I started or figured out my purpose. Somebody luckily a long time ago was smarter than me, and he's like, "Hey man, there's something after this military thing. You gotta figure it out."
Right.
So I started teaching small business owners what I did, which was how to teach a 17-year-old kid how to disarm a nuclear weapon anywhere on earth with 100% reliability. And you can only do that with super clear mission, vision, and values, and systems and processes that are applicable to new situations. And just amazing how many companies just didn't have that structure. You know what I mean? They didn't have SOPs, they didn't have really clear values. And so we helped about 685 businesses through that process. And in that time, I noticed that every one of these people needed money to grow. And so started teaching, figured out and started teaching how to make your business credible, to make your business look like something that a bank wants to loan money to. Instead of a normal entrepreneur cycle was start something, run up your credit card, then go ask for a loan. Versus if you do it properly, you can look like a self-licking ice cream cone when your business looks the way
you heard that right. Self-licking ice cream cone. Okay. Yeah, I like it. That's an illustration I can get behind.
That's right. So when your business needs money, the bank's like, that's exactly what I'm looking for. I would love to loan you money.
Right.
And that's a process. And then that led into, now you have some money and now you want to grow. And that led into mergers and acquisitions. And then working on a project, and I got beat by a private equity company. I was like, what is private equity? Why does this person have a $3.5 million check? I got beat out by like this super fun electrical company that I totally align with their core values. And I was so excited to buy it. And somebody totally came in with a check and bought it out from under me. And the lady, super nice lady, totally perfectly honest up front. First one with money wins. And I was like, I'm gonna have the money in like a month. And she's like, yeah, sorry, you lose. And so, I had to figure that private equity thing out. And now we're doing what we're doing today, which is Patriot Growth Capital. And we change family trees through business, veteran family trees. And that ties back to my purpose in life, because I don't like wishy-washy stuff. How can I create we think about you so you can think about others' culture, so that you can have that margin, that capacity in your life to pour into somebody, so you can be the best neighbor, mother, cousin, father, sister, husband, so you can be the best version of you. And so that drive to not have something wishy-washy helped drive me into being more solid through the ability to invest in leaders and businesses that I could help create that culture in. Because I believe you and all the other business owners of America have the greatest capacity for good than anybody else on earth. Because you get the opportunity to create that. We think about you so you can think about others' culture for the people that you are either working with, serving, or that work for you. And the ripple effects on side of that are what's going to help me make more bomb tech kids. Because those kids are going to come from that position and they're going to have the grit to be able to make it through something tough.
So you're essentially bringing together veterans with leadership opportunities post their service time. So they're it gives them basically a pathway to lead and eventually own a business, and you're marrying that up to capital and the business. So it's kind of a three-way sort of melding of opportunity, if I'm hearing that right. Is that, I don't know if that's the right strat, maybe a little too practical, but
No, it's perfect. I mean, we we figured out, we solved the four problems that I had getting out of the military. The first one is, I mean, you heard about my childhood.
yeah,
Business ownership was not something that we considered. That's something that rich people did, and that's not us.
right.
Not a reality for me. So the first problem we solve is through our nonprofit, Advancing the Line for Veterans at atlvets.org. We bring in bigger business and successful business people, and we intermingle with veteran families so that they can see a new reality. And they can be like, you know what? Jonathan is a clown, and maybe I can do what he does because I love his reality. Maybe I should change what I do to match what he does so that I can get that reality. And so through exposure and education, we're bringing people into the possibility of being business owners. That's the first problem we solve. The second one is, man, where would I find the money? Like, I'm an American. I live paycheck to paycheck. I'm in the military. I don't get paid a lot. How am I supposed to find the money to buy a business? And the third problem we solve is, okay, what does a good business look like? Where would I find that? And so we solve those two through Patriot Growth Capital by us having a very strict buy box of businesses that are already successful, historically been run for years. They already have systems and processes and market share and supply chains and all the things to make at least $1.5 million in profit a year. And then we buy them so that the veteran family doesn't have to worry about that.
Well, and that's an interesting, one of the things we wanted to hit today was the market. And I think there's a correlation, obviously a correlation there. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know what they're calling it, but I've heard it called the greatest wealth transfer. We're in the midst of the greatest wealth transfer in the history of ever because all the boomers are retiring and their second, third generation families are not interested in running these successful businesses, which they're already successful. And I think one thing you hit on that really stands out for me anyway is that they're successful, they're even profitable, but they're somewhat vulnerable and they still make for a great opportunity. So it's kind of a win-win because you're probably going to get somewhat of a bargain, but it's not going to be a basement deal. And you don't necessarily want that, right? I mean, I would think having sort of the best of both worlds, like they're motivated to sell, but you're not going to get them for a song. And so, but you're still going to get a discount. So it's sort of like a win-win, I would think.
Yeah. And I think, I can't remember if Warren Buffett or Charlie Munger said it, but we're not here to pay good prices or great prices for good companies. We're here to pay good prices for great companies. Right. And so we're not looking for a discount. Like, in fact, first thing we do is go over core values with somebody and explain our purpose. As a business owner, I am fully committed to getting as many dollars into your pocket as possible. I can say that without reservation that I'm going to pay you as much as possible for this business. Because like I said, we're not here this has to be a win-win. I know what a win looks like for me, and I want to make sure this is a win for you so that we can do this. And if it's not, okay, great. I'm pray for the best for you, but that is not something that we compromise on. And so as long as it fits in everything that we need to do, we'll do that. And the market, yeah, it's actually, with the higher interest rates over the last couple of years, it's actually been super good for business acquisition because it actually drives down prices. So because money was cheap before, right? And it looks like it's heading that way again. And when people are looking for businesses, they're like, hey, if this is a business, I want to make this much money after all the bills, period. And if money's free, that means I can afford to pay all this money and still make that much money. But when money gets more expensive, that drives this down, the price, because I'm not going to buy anything that doesn't make that much money. And so for us,
it's good. That makes sense.
We love it. I love expensive money because it drives the price down and I create more value. And I'm not going to buy it if we don't cover the debt to begin with. And so when money gets cheaper and our expenses go down, I'm going to be making even more profit. And that profit goes towards supporting the veterans, because the fourth problem we solve is, man, okay, I got a business. Now what? Because it's cute to be a leader or a family member. Right. That's not the same as running a business. And so we solve that problem by actually hiring we call it the Patriot Growth MBA, where you can go, for a couple of years to Harvard and pay $100,000 a year and get an MBA, or you can come to us and we'll pay you to get your 40 hours a week for 60 months. So you get your 10,000 hours of expertise in this business. And you know the whole time that you don't have to start over or figure out what you're going to do afterwards, because we want you to own part of this business. My goal with this MBA is to transfer $1 million worth of value into your family. And so we do that by paying you for 60 months. Then we partner with you, because what's the best passive investments out there? An operator that I know, like, and trust, running a business that I know, like, and trust. And I vetted you for 5 years with a business that I've vetted for 5 years. I'm fully comfortable with taking on the seller's note and making the transfer of ownership for you, so that now with that $1 million, let's just say for math's sake, I take 600,000 of that and transfer that to debt service. So we've bumped your family's income from 100,000 a year to 400,000 a year. And it's a 10-year loan, because we know you qualify for the SBA loan before we hire you. And we are the most blessed country on earth. No other country has something like the SBA. And that's a 10-year loan. And so we're partners with you, continuing to help grow that business for the next 10 years. And at the end of that 10 years, you have $1 million of income that's repeatable for your family. And so this is the fastest, safest, least risky way to minimize blood, sweat, and tears to getting your family to be a millionaire family that I can think of.
Like you said, for people that, you know, would have never thought possible for them to have that kind of path.
Who am I?
That's an interesting thing too, because I think a lot of times what, you know, there's a lot of selling out there of, you know, you can be anything you want to be. And I actually don't believe that. I don't think people should be anything they want to be. I think a lot of times people aren't informed about what they really need to be doing. Not everybody, entrepreneurship is not for everybody, that is for sure. And there are different flavors of it, different versions. Having this kind of support system is what I would consider a lot of a hybrid, and where you get portions of that, but you're getting support that you wouldn't normally get. I mean, it goes well beyond any kind of franchise model or anything, you know, in a start your own, you know, from scratch, you know, become part of a startup that someone else started. I mean, this is one of those things where you kind of get, it sounds like you get the best of both worlds. And for veterans who wouldn't normally have that kind of opportunity or wouldn't know how to pursue it because they haven't been trained on that, maybe they're not even wired that way. So that's very interesting.
Education piece to that as well. When I first conceived this idea, I'm like, cool, they're going to be CEOs. But just like you said, not everybody's set to be a CEO.
Right.
I believe that there are, and it's not any shame in it, that people discount the value of being an intrapreneur versus an entrepreneur. Entrepreneur to me is somebody who creates a massive amount of value inside of a business, and their personal growth is tied to the growth that they create for the business. And that's amazing. Imagine making or having $1 million business with 10% margin. That's $100,000 that you get to take home. That's what an employee who makes $100,000 is. Like, he gets to have the equivalent of a 10% margin $1 million business with none of the hassles. And that's not a problem. There should be no shame in being an entrepreneur.
Right.
And the people who want to do that, great. We need you. We work with all of those people at ATL, Advancing Line for Veterans. In fact, last year we helped 16,000 veterans and family members. We do for atlvets.org. And everybody here.
Slow down, because I just want to make sure I get there. ATL or?
Yep, ATLVETS.org.
ATLvets.org. Okay.
Yep.
Like Atlanta, only the ATL.
ATL Advancing the Lines. Yeah.
Okay. Advancing the Lines Vets. ATL Vets. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. No. And everybody, thanks for pointing that out. Everybody's welcome to the event. Like, if you want to work out at the Falcon Stadium, we do that about once a month. We have speaking events where all we do is bring businesses and families together so they can see that reality. Like I said,
amazing.
1,000-person, speaking events. We've had all kinds of people, and this year is going to be better than last year.
Love it. So Jonathan, can I direct this to?
Yeah, of course.
Your biggest, what big thing? Like, give us some background on what one big thing you're working on, or maybe what as a dream you'd like to, and it could be anything. Like it doesn't have to be business, although it can be. That's great. Or it could be personal. It could be something that may seem small to others, but it's huge to you. What's one big thing that you're either working on or you want to in the near future? Maybe even a dream.
Yeah, my dream is to deepen relationship with my kids. And I want to do that by setting a good example, of which, like I said, I wasn't there for a lot of it. And so now all I can do is take what I have now and move forward. And my kids get cooler every day, right?
Yeah.
Like they understand more, they're having more experiences, and they're just more fun every single day of their lives from the beginning. And I want to grow what we're doing at Patriot Growth Capital and have my kids involved, whether they want to work with me or they want to own their own business. That is something that I'm super excited, mainly because I want to keep leading by example, not just for my kids, but for everybody else. Like, hey, this is good. And this, I mean, it's so good. I do it for my family, not one of those people who is, I don't want to be just a member of the hair club. I'm the president. You know what I mean? Like,
That's a little ironic, obviously, because that beautiful top you got going on there. So at least you don't have to get up and try to manage it. That's a value. Although you got the beard going, bro.
yeah, like you said, the beards are just as much hassle.
I know, and that's a baller beard. I'm not gonna lie, man. I got to work on my beard game looking at that thing. So
The beard's beautiful. Don't worry about it.
thanks, man. So Jonathan, what about we've talked a little bit about the markets, I think. What's your view? We'll kind of wrap on this. What's your view on tariffs and sort of the market condition right now? What do you see over the next, I don't know, say 12 months with sort of what's going on and how that might affect you in your business?
Yeah, appreciate that. So we like to focus on e-commerce companies, and I think every company is going to be affected by the tariffs and imports. I do believe that in overarching that, there's going to be some pain with that, but I believe it's the best thing for our country that we can do. And there's going to be some prices that go up. There's lots of ways to deal with tariffs, and people just look at it from one point of view, like, oh my goodness. But the overarching good that I think it's going to do to make sure that our goods don't get taxed as much overseas, it's really hard to look at tariffs without looking at the big picture instead of just focusing on how this is going to affect one company. And so the overarching experiment that we're in right now for America, downsizing our debt, which is super important. I don't think people grasp exactly how much of a threat that not being able to pay your bills is on a national level. Like, you understand it personally, but on a national level, and what that will do to your futures and your kids' future if we don't handle that.
Well, and I think that's it. I mean, a lot of us are like, well, and it's almost like, there used to be a lot of, I don't know, fanfare. That's probably the wrong word, but just energy around bringing light to the the old debt clock, and then it just sort of continues to die down because we just keep printing money and putting it back into the system, and it's government meddling is what it is, and so I do find it interesting where things are. I think you brought up a point that isn't talked about enough, which is we all kind of hyper focus on what's happening to us right here and now, instead of looking at, like, look, if you're going to if we're sick and we need to get well, we're going to have to expose some things, and it's going to be painful to start with. You break an arm or a bunch of bones, you're going to have surgery, right? And that's going to be a painful process, and you're going to have to go through some healing. I like the idea of looking more globally, because I love it. It's, our goods can't even be competitive overseas because, and I chuckle at Canada. I mean, they're acting like we just, we're some big bully that just slapped them in the face. And they're the ones that tariff us triple digits on everything that we try to put into their country. They make our products virtually unmarketable in their country. And they'll say, well, that's to protect our products. Well, okay, but look, if we're going to really be fair trade partners, then we need to be fair trade partners based on merits, and we need to have some fairness in the rates that are associated to that. And I think when you talk about global view, that's something that really stands out to me. And anyway, I think it's getting interesting. Nobody likes the pain that they have to personally. I mean, it's hit my business. We pay more for pipe. There's steel comes from not just the United States, but we have a greater steel demand in this country than we do production from it. And just like we do in oil and gas, my business, I mean, these are businesses where there's a lot more demand than supply from the United States. So, the tariffs hit us. They say, hey, we're gonna, the goods that are coming in, right? That we're gonna pay more because those goods are being tariffed by our country. So we know that steel from China or from other countries that comes in, we're gonna have to pay more because that's how the government is trying to balance the sheet. And it's going to take some, I think, to your point, some short-term pain to get a longer-term gain. I personally, I don't know what you think, but I'm curious. I'm bringing this up. I'm not sure if people actually believe this is real, but I didn't think Doge was going to be as effective as it is, although I know they got a lot more work to do, but I love what the work they're doing. I'm curious if you think we can realistically move from an IRS system to an ERS. He mentioned the external and formed, I believe, formally the External Revenue Service. I love that idea. I cannot stand the idea and my problem with taxes isn't that we pay taxes. Like, I understand that, although I think, Trump talks about his view, and I've gotten into commentary, sorry, but this is, he talks about the markets provide opportunity for countries to be able to operate as governments in a leaner way if they would work on a tariff system that's fair and equitable, and then you don't have to tax your citizens. But that creates freedom and growth and opportunity, just like your business, just like you're providing. All that opens everything up. And so what ends up happening is you can't control the people if you can't tax them into an oblivion and wear them down. If you think about a dollar that's taxed, man, it's taxed so many times. It's taxed more times than it's worth when it goes all the way through a system of consumption. So I don't know.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on an ERS versus an IRS after that long commentary?
No, I love it. I mean, anything that is going to give people more confidence and feel more comfortable and be able to use the money that they want to use the money on. Before we had the tax, like the taxes have been like they've been around as long as we've been alive.
1900s. Right?
Yeah, like I think 19, what is it? I don't know. Somebody look it up and put in the comments, right? Or something that when we got in the war, and yeah, so we all wanted to pay a little bit of tax to support our people overseas and the war machine, but then we just never weaned off of it. From the day before that up until then, we had an external revenue service.
Yeah,
The
that's
tariffs paid for the government,
Yeah.
and
I'm famous last words or terrible words for anybody is, hi, I'm from the government and I'm here to help. We need a lot less of that, which is what I like what's going on.
yeah, I mean, I believe that we should take some personal responsibility, and I think that local neighborhoods and churches and communities can actually do a lot more good effectively, especially bang for your buck, instead of going through the filter of the bureaucracy, whether it's a nonprofit or the government. You can control that and do more good on a local level. And
100%.
I 100% believe in the goodness of people. Like I said, I've been in every major conflict for like 25 years, and the people that are good out there far outweigh the people that are bad. And I just am so excited to get them empowered and feel like they can actually do more good themselves. America today is still the most philanthropic country on earth, and we have so much farther to go in getting it back.
100%. Well, Jonathan, man, I appreciate it. This has been awesome. Thanks for the stories, the insights, the intrigue, the thrills. Oh my gosh. I mean, from the Great Barrier Reef in Australia to swimming with bus-sized sharks, or not really swimming with them, being attacked by them and surviving to tell the story, which is amazing. Even getting your job done down below the surface. So, man, appreciate you so much. Love you, brother. This is real quick. Just give us a quick finish on how people can get in touch with you and what they can find resource wise when they reach out.
Yeah, I appreciate that, brother. So patriotgrowthcapital.com is our website. If we serve 3 people, the veteran families that want to change their family tree through business. We serve investors who want capital gains tax-free returns and not just make money, but do good, changing veteran family trees, and business owners that would like to have a veteran family be the caring pair of hands for their legacy their employees and their customers. And if you are any one of those people, we have a contact page on the website, patriotgrowthcapital.com, or you can email me at j.bates@patriotgrowthcapital.com, and I would love to see what I can do to help you.
Awesome. Thanks, Jonathan. This is Peter Snell. I'm CEO of PetroVibe. This fireside chat is powered by PetroVibe. If you want to learn about our business in the oil and gas development, want to get involved in that, check us out at petrovibe.com. That's PetroVybe. So petrovibe.com. That's it for now. Come back and see us next time. Signing off.